Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live in Hong Kong from the SmartCon 2024 conference by Chainlink. Joining me for this segment, we have Daniela Barbosa. She's the General Manager of Decentralized Technologies for the Linux Foundation, as well as Executive Director of LF Decentralized Trust. We're here to discuss why open development is critical to the transition to decentralized systems and applications. It is great to have you with us, Daniela. Welcome to Trade Talks.
It's fantastic to be here in Hong Kong at SmartCon.
It is. There's a lot of great content coming out of this. And let's talk about the LF Decentralized Trust. It just launched as a new umbrella organization under the Linux Foundation last month. What are the business and technical drivers behind the creation of this foundation?
Sure. So, the Linux Foundation for the last 30 plus years has been the home of some of the most important open source projects. And what we've been doing since 2015 in what was called the Hyperledger Foundation was where all the blockchain and digital identity projects have been. Over the last 8 years, the market has really exploded, and the way that these decentralized technologies, whether it's blockchains or smart contracts or decentralized identity, have really exploded, and the business need for these applications to go into production has become critical in order for these things to move forward.
Can you give us some examples of where and how technology is hosted by the LF Decentralized Trust? Where are they already impacting the market?
Yeah, so some of our projects have been around for 5-6 years. So we have real-world use cases of blockchain networks that are driving efficiencies in the market. So I'll give you an example. We're about to launch a case study this week with Citibank for Citi Token Services, and essentially what they've created is a trade finance application, tokenization application, to be able to very quickly move money from a trade finance perspective. This is something that in the past used to take 3-4 days maybe to get the money through the supply chain into the hands of who sold the items. And now this is happening in real time as well. This is increasing, obviously, liquidity in the market. Money gets to the hands of those who need it in order and to invest it in other things faster. And that's all being enabled by blockchain technology.
There were some big announcements made this week as well. Can you share some details with us?
Sure. This week here in Hong Kong, we announced that the Hong Kong Monetary Authority has joined the foundation as an associate member. We also announced that MasterCard has joined in order to support the work that they're doing within our open source code projects as well as others, including Stellar and the Stellar ecosystem. So what we're seeing really is a diversity in both government agencies and regulators, private sector, in banking, in supply chain, in pharmaceutical companies, and even the blockchain foundations, other layer 1 foundations. Recently, Chainlink, for example, also joined the foundation to come and work together collaboratively in the open with some of these projects that we host.
Why is open development so critical to the transition of decentralized systems and applications, and what role is the trust playing in this transition?
Sure. There is no doubt that open source has won the battle when it comes to blockchain, specifically around decentralized networks. What's really important to understand is that when you need to get to true decentralization, the developers have to be in a situation where they're openly governed. Essentially, anybody can show up in the code project, they can take a look at it, and it's a duocracy. You get to do, and as you support the code work that you do. So one of the things that's really important for decentralized technologies is if the development is still by one company and is very centralized as to who makes decisions, you're never going to get through pure, decentralization.
Which is so interesting because one of the key themes that we've heard, not just at SmartCon but throughout the year, is improving the developer experience in addition to the user experience. So what are the most important or interesting technologies and applications that you foresee on the horizon?
Yeah, so I do think developer tooling and what ecosystems, like for example the Chainlink ecosystem does around developer assistance, et cetera, is really, really valuable. So we're going to see more and more tools and more ways for developers to become part of these large code projects. I think from a technology perspective, I think critical this week, the last 2 days, many conversations around the importance of decentralized identity and identity in general. And there's a lot of great work that's happening in our community with decentralized identity, with verifiable credentials. And these are all things that are going to make the connections into financial systems and the identity of individuals as well. How do you know that it's your assets, your ID, etc.? So a lot of conversations this week specifically around that, and things around privacy. If you look at privacy-specific applications, I think are needed for these systems to go into production for sure.
Do you think privacy is one of the barriers to getting these technologies and applications to the market? Are there other barriers to entry here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a network effect, and a lot
Right.
of these applications, really, you have to reach a network effect before it explodes. But I do think privacy and identity need to be addressed, and both the consumers and those relying the identity have to feel comfortable doing it as well.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting there. There's a lot of new technology projects that you'll be hearing coming out of Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust and at other foundations as well. And I think it's just a matter of some regulation as well is required in order for us to feel comfortable as a user perspective. But overall, our goal is really to have code that's openly developed, openly governed. Anyone can participate and get to the core root of why we're building these technologies. Why are we changing financial infrastructure? Why are we changing financial systems, right? Is to become more inclusive, to have more access to financial products from an inclusivity perspective. We see amazing work going on around the world. Take, for example, what's happening in Brazil with the DREX, with the central bank digital currency there. They're really building market infrastructure for the future of Brazil, as opposed to just, yet another, digital
Silo,
currency.
right, yeah.
So it's really amazing to see, really endearing to see that our technologies that are hosted under the Linux Foundation are being used for these projects.
All right, Danielle, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me from SmartCon. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.